So thanks everyone for joining. Today I have a special guest coming to me from Galway. Her name is Niamh Burke and she is a nutritionist practicing out of Galway. And I'm very excited for you to hear all about Niamh's work and get to know the sort of stuff that she's doing in the world. So thank you, Niamh, for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, Aisling.
So can you let people know, like, how did you become a nutritionist? Because I suppose this is, there's not that many people out there, and you're really, you put a lot of stuff out and in social media, and, I followed your work, and I actually met you at the Bill Walsh training last year. So, just going to give me a little background to how you came to do this.
I suppose, I have PCOS myself, and I took a long time to get diagnosed. It's kind of a tricky thing to diagnose, and I was having very strange symptoms. And when I finally got diagnosed, I rang the doctor, and of course it was a male doctor, and he said, you've polycystic ovaries. And I said, what will I do? And I was in my 20s, and he said, well, are you trying to get pregnant? And I said no, and he said, well, don't do anything. But I was getting very strange symptoms, like I was getting dizzy spells, waking up in the middle of the night. I was having panic attacks from like hypoglycemia, where my blood sugars would drop and I didn't know what was happening. I had the excess hair, I had acne, I found it difficult to lose weight. I had really bad PMS, where like I just wanted to hide myself away from the world because I had such bad anxiety. That's when like a lot of my panic attacks and things would happen as well. Mm-hmm. So that really, like, I suppose, got me interested in how I can help myself, and I went on to study nutritional therapy. And the course that I did was with IHS, which is the Institute of Health Science, and they do their nutritional therapy modules through functional medicine. It's kind of like addressing it's always going back to the root cause and unveiling layer upon layer upon layer. What's the next layer of your health that you can like go back really deep to find what the root cause is. With PCOS, they reckon there's a lot of things that it's linked to low vitamin D. I definitely had that. Poor metabolism of estrogen and kind of poor gut health. I wasn't breastfed. Different things in my past. They all linked up, and I was like, oh no wonder I have PCOS, it was amazing. But I'd say that diet is one of the biggest things that has helped me control my symptoms. Like all of my acne has gone away, the excess hair growth has really improved, and this is like the PMS, everything has improved, which is great, and it's just the power of diet. So I suppose through that then, like, I've gotten really interested in female hormones and helping other women, and like really the role your gut plays as well for detoxification of all these things, and how important it is to support your liver in any of these kind of hormonal conditions. So a lot of my workshops are kind of based on that, and I really try and break it down into simple terms so people can understand and take home and start implementing things straight away, because they understand. I really think, like, for clients, that knowledge is the greatest tool that they can have.
Absolutely. And so you were recently doing a women's wellness evening for your friend, Mairead.
Oh, yes. Okay. So that was on Tuesday night, and it was a great evening. The venue was sponsored by Bank of Ireland Workbench, and they sponsored the ingredients as well. They usually bring a load of croissants and things, but we had like a really nice nutritional therapist there called Helen Finn from Combination Cooking, and she used all the ingredients and made treats. Oh my God, they were amazing. So it was a really nice night, and well, I did it. It was free, but you just donated to the fund to get a ticket, and there was like 55 people there, and we made over €1,200, so it was amazing.
That's amazing.
So just a little bit about Mairead's story, because I think that we need to raise awareness for things like this, is that Mairead got diagnosed with stage 4 triple negative breast cancer, and the poor thing went into her doctor and didn't get seen for 10 weeks. Imagine, she was waiting for 10 weeks, and only until she found a second lump, and she went back to her doctor to say, look, could we maybe push this consultation or the the checkup closer, because I've got second lump now. And then she went in that day, she got an appointment, and she was told, God, it was stage 4. stage 4 means basically that it's spread and it's the worst kind of cancer you can get, and triple negative is the most aggressive form of breast cancer. So she like really didn't know what to do. So, she's a gas character, Mairead. Like, she was just like, "Effect this, I'm going off to electric picnic," because they were like, "You need to start treatment straight away."
Went off to electric picnic.
Yeah, so she went off to electric picnic and had a think about it, and she was like, "Jesus, this could be the last time I get to enjoy my life." And she kind of thought, like, well, what's my chances of survival here? And they said it was less than 20% that she would live 5 years. So that like wasn't good for her. And she has done like lots of research. She tried loads of natural treatments, and she actually, first of all, she tried using cannabis oil. And that actually did slow the cancer down. And in follow-up scans, because it was growing very aggressively, it did show that there was a very slight a decrease in the size of her breast tumours. But the problem was it had spread and it was going into her bones and things like that. So she thought, right now I need to do something more aggressive. So she looked up a clinic in Istanbul. Well, loads of different clinics, but this one in particular had, she was told she would have about a 70% chance of full recovery. So she said, this is great. And this clinic actually uses chemotherapy as well. So she thought that perhaps maybe that her, because she had health insurance, might be able to, that they might be able to pay for it. And they were all up for it. They said, all you need to do is get your consultant to sign off on it. But could she? She couldn't. Now, the problem is that in Ireland, they introduced a law, and it was kind of to protect people, but they introduced a law years and years ago. It could have been like 100 years ago, but like so that people weren't treated by what you think, things like, treating people with snake oil. So that false promises that they could treat cancer. So they brought out this law that people in Ireland can only be treated using chemotherapy, radiation, or surgery, which meant that they could only be treated by a doctor. But you see, that's really standing in the way of all the new research and all the new treatments that are coming out that other countries are accepting, like Germany. So that's they're one of the leading, I think, countries for all their different cancer therapies, like natural and other ones as well that will be kind of like maybe pharmaceutical drug based. Ireland is kind of archaic now that we have this standing in our way that it's only chemotherapy, radiation and surgery that we can use. So because this clinic over in Istanbul uses 5 different treatments. That's how they get such high success rate. They use ketogenic diet, they use chemotherapy, but they use it with a lower dose. They actually only need a lower dose because the other treatments are so effective with the ketogenic diet. They use hyperbaric oxygen treatment, they use intravenous vitamin C, and they use hyperthermia. Now, all treatments that are used in Germany to treat cancer, even in hospitals, but in Ireland, they're considered experimental. So her consultant would not sign off. She couldn't get her health insurance providers because they needed that legally to pay. And the treatment costs the same. Her treatment she's getting in Istanbul costs about the same anyway as she would have gotten in Ireland. So it's something I think that we need to progress in Ireland. We need to get this kind of mainstream medicine, much higher success rate. And I do have confidence that in the next 20 years that it will happen. And I think people like Mairead are really pioneering it, because if she survives, and if she gets cured, she's literally, I think she's going to be the first Irish woman that gets cured of stage 4 triple negative breast cancer. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, it gives us all hope.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it will be amazing. And that's where we'll all be going. And if we could just even get some kind of open-minded consultant to be start letting women go over and let it get paid by our health insurance. But what will happen is that they'll be like, why can't we better get this over here, because all the women are leaving to get this treatment to another country. So hopefully it will happen. It could be a case where some kind of young consultant that's very open-minded goes over and trains in Istanbul and brings some of these therapies back to Ireland. So that would be brilliant. But just in regards to Mairead, so she's over halfway through her treatment now, and at the halfway point she did get a scan, and it showed that the trickiest tumour that they were saying was going to be difficult to treat was the liver tumour. And that had more than halved in size. So she's doing great. She's absolutely fine. And she's so positive. If you ever read her blog, or if anybody wants to donate to her fund page, it's You Caring. It's a You Caring page, and it's Mairead Mac Wellness, and her blog is absolutely phenomenal.
Mm.
She's so positive.
Yeah.
How she does it.
Yeah, I read actually just one of her articles there during the week, and it was amazing to see it. And what I love is how she's approaching it on all levels, like holistically. She's really like overhauling her whole, like, it's not just treating the physical cancer, she's actually treating her whole self. So I think that's really, really powerful.
She's really dove into the emotional aspect of it as well, and she says that this is the easy part of her journey, even though obviously getting chemotherapy is really knocking her. But she said she wants to now, after this, get to the root cause of maybe what let the cancer develop. And at one stage she was telling me about this release technique that she had done, and it was to do with kind of like past anger and anxieties. And she said that like the next morning after she woke up, she had noticed that she wasn't actually getting chemo at the time, but she had noticed a big difference, a big reduction in the size of her breast tumours. So she definitely thinks that there's a huge emotional aspect to, I suppose, illness and cancers and things like that, that like sometimes, like, sure, you know yourself, we hold a lot of tension and energy in different organs, whether it's our jaw or, you know, butterflies in your tummy. I'm a devil for holding tension in my stomach. And you know, it goes into the organs, that negative energy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you tell us what kind of work you're doing with women, isn't it? Because you do a lot with hormonal balance and things like that. I see you talk about the gut health a lot. I see that on your page. Yeah.
I suppose, like, as a nutritional therapist, I don't actually offer a cure or treat anybody or diagnose. But what I do is I come in and, like, I might have between an hour and a half to 2 hours for the first consultation, and really get to the root of, like, where are all these imbalances coming from, what's going on, and I suppose, like, by naturally bringing the body back into balance, a lot of symptoms will go away. So some people might have kind of some gut issues and hormonal issues. They'd be very common to come hand in hand. In college and in clinic as well, one of the most important things I would consider to treat would be constipation. So this is something that people don't take too seriously, but if you think that the gut has so many things to do on a day-to-day basis, it has to decide like what to digest, what to absorb, what's a toxin, what's like a germ, and things that are, like, if you're constipated and, like, I suppose toxins and things are left sitting in your gut, the body can try and recycle a lot of stuff. It tries to be thrifty, like, and the problem is that it can sometimes recycle old hormones, and especially with estrogen, it's the metabolites of estrogen that are the most problematic. They're actually very potent, and they seem most people with breast cancer, actually all people with breast cancer, have like elevated estrogen metabolites in their system. So like, you'd look at why wasn't the person clearing them, and like, it could be something as simple as constipation that is causing the body to recycle it. So the female hormones are cholesterol based, so it's part of a fat. So cholesterol is just another part of food. So the body's like, here's some cholesterol, I'm going to recycle it. I'll absorb it back into the bloodstream, but it can become very problematic then. So just making sure that, I suppose you'd say that your elimination pathways are clear, and a healthy bowel movement would be 1 to 2 times per day, and that you're not having too much difficulty passing it as well. And fibre is so important in the diet for binding to toxins and just helping the bowel to work efficiently. Plus, it feeds the good bacteria. We don't actually get any energy from the fibre, but it feeds the gut bacteria and helps them to thrive. And one of their roles is to actually, they pull on toxins and bring them into their own cell membrane so that you don't absorb them. And they're very protective in that way. And they also bind to the old hormones, the hormone and metabolites as well. And once they're bound up with the gut bacteria, you can't absorb them because the gut won't absorb the bacteria into your bloodstream because it will be dangerous. It'll cause an infection. So they're very protective in that way. So it could be that somebody comes in with constipation and hormonal issues. That's just one simple example, but we'd work on making sure that they're getting enough fibre, making sure they're having a bowel movement every day, and making sure that their gut bacteria was at good levels, so that that will offer them a bit of protection there. And I might give them like something to like help support their liver as well and just clear their toxins out, those toxins out.
That's lovely. But I think, like, what you're saying is kind of, I suppose it's the kind of the basics, isn't it, of health that are overlooked.
Yes, exactly.
The very basic functions where I suppose the whole kind of functional medicine and functional nutrition is coming in now.
Yeah, and there's so many reasons somebody can be constipated from. We carry actually a lot of stress in our bowels.
Yeah.
Um, at the moment, like we tend to have like a very high calcium diets and compared to magnesium,
Mm-hmm.
and magnesium is a real relaxer, whereas calcium is kind of constrictor. They work kind of against each other. So if you've quite a high calcium diet and very low magnesium, things can you can have more muscle tension, as well. Just things like you could have maybe a food intolerance is another common reason why people can have constipation. I think with the medical profession, it's like you come in with a symptom and you get a treatment, whereas I kind of look at like what is causing this. Like we need to kind of rebalance the whole gut here and find out what's the reason. Is it a food intolerance? Maybe they're not eating enough fiber, maybe it's not enough water. Are they carrying tension in their bowel? Are they actually some people from an accident, a small accident, even from their neck or any part of your spine as well, it can affect the nerves in your bowel, and maybe they actually need some kind of a manipulation treatment to address that and realign it so that the nerves aren't being affected and they're working appropriately. Different things like that. And actually one of the things that isn't really associated straight away with bloating and constipation is low thyroid function, which is very, very common in Ireland. So that can be another reason why clients are coming in constipated. But you see, there's so many reasons, and if you go into the doctor with it and you just get Movocol, like you're not really getting to the root cause. So that's really kind of looking at like how functional medicine would address it.
Absolutely. So it's really there's never just like a symptom and then a treatment. It's really, you have to, it's case by case dependent, isn't it? You have to figure out what's showing up for that person and what's their kind of their background to lead them up to this point.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's why a nutritional therapy consultation takes so long, because it's easy for someone to just tell you their symptom, but you have to keep asking loads and loads of questions. When did it start? Was it after an accident? What's your diet like on a day-to-day basis? And just see, like, are you experiencing any bloating after foods? And even with like actually food intolerance is one of the things is they can be very tricky to identify, because you could eat something that you're intolerant to and not get symptoms until 3 days later. So people say like, oh, you know, I didn't eat bread or anything like that today, but I still have symptoms. So I would do something what's called an elimination diet with clients. So I would kind of have an idea from their diet and their symptoms, maybe what food might be causing them. So I might get them to cut them out for 2 weeks completely and then reintroduce them, but only introduce them one at a time every 3 days, so that they can actually give themselves 3 days to see if they're having a reaction to that food afterwards. Because an intolerance is a bit different to an allergy in that it's a very slow reaction. It's not like an allergy where you get hives straight away or swelling. It's a different part of the immune system. So it can be tricky enough sometimes to identify a food intolerance. But with like even the likes of constipation, wheat is a big trigger usually for a lot of clients.
Absolutely. So do you feel like how did you, before you became a nutritionist, were you doing something else, or how did you like decide? I know obviously your own health journey came into this, but
I actually did art.
Oh really?
In college, yeah, I did art. And I suppose like I really liked art in school. That's why I did art. And when I was in college doing my art, I was like, oh, why didn't I do home economics teaching? Because I love cooking and I love teaching like about food.
Yeah.
Like I have that kind of personality though, that I'm always like, oh, I'll finish this now. So I finished the art, went off traveling, came back. I was waitressing for a while. And then I went back studying part-time. I just thought I'd never gone back full-time studying again because I was so poor when I was in art college.
Yeah.
So I did the waitressing part-time. I studied part-time, which was great. It was great freedom that a lot of the nutritional colleges, like you do 1 or 2 weekends a month, and then there's 10 hours home study and assignments as well. And you get a little mini test each weekend to make sure that you are doing your revision. And that was great that I was able to do that. I have to say though, like, your clients teach you the most when you get practicing.
Absolutely.
Like, that's where you learn the most, and you really put everything you've learned into practice. But yeah, so I got into nutrition then, and I have to say, like, I've a huge passion for it. Like, it's kind of comes hand in hand, like, with the whole love I have for teaching and education and cooking and everything. So.
Yeah, because I see you do like lots of little Facebook lives with food and stuff, and I saw one of them. You're coming back from the market, from the farmers market.
Yeah.
was like, oh, I love that. Because it's just, I think, again, it's like, it's bringing everything back to the basics. And I think people have forgotten the simplicity of actually having good health. You know, it's like, because we've gotten so taken away by, I suppose, convenience foods and like this very fast-paced lifestyle, that it's kind of like bringing everything back to, you know, being able to have the basics, but then being able to, you know, bridge it with the technology and be able to share that information out into the world.
Yeah, there's a fabulous market in Galway. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. The fish is so fresh down there. And there's the friendly farmer down there, and all of his meat is free range, which is great. And even like their rashers and stuff is really low nitrates, it's really low salt. And all the vegetables down there are biodynamic, which means that they don't, like I suppose, over-farm the soil. They do crop rotation, so they replenish the soil as well. They're always working, and they don't use a lot of fertilizers or things like that, so they actually have a much lower carbon footprint. So it's great, it's amazing down there. Yeah, bringing it back to basics, that's exactly the way that they would have shopped back in the past. Now, don't get me wrong, I still go up to John's as well, and get my things, and I love Aldi as well. They've like getting more and more things in. But yeah, bringing it back to basics. I think like what I try to tell my clients as well, that like what you do now and again isn't going to have a big impact on your health. Like, so if you eat something bad now and again, it's not going to have a huge impact on your health. But equally, if you're only eating good now and again, it's not going to have a big impact on your health. It's what you do the majority of the time that has the biggest impact on your health. So try to be healthy as much as you can. Like, for me, I always eat healthy at home. But if I'm out for dinner with the girls or something, I'm not going to be completely depriving myself, because I know that I've done the groundwork to keep myself healthy. You know, I might have a glass of wine, I might have a bite of dessert. You know, it's all about balance. But one thing I find with women, we're devils. Like, it's like we strive for perfection, and if we're not perfect, then we're like, oh, can't do it. So it's all or nothing. And we really need to kind of get our heads around the idea that it's more about balance and not perfectionism, you know, because that's a much more healthy point of view as well to have.
Absolutely. And I find that working with clients, that is like, and I know my own self when I was first new to nutrition, that you can become like very obsessed with everything having to be perfect. And then that can become like an anxiety of itself. You know, I remember like family members like, oh, you're much more relaxed nowadays. I used to arrive with bags of like organic vegetables. Oh, I'm not having your vegetables.
And
I'm like, again, it is just being able to incorporate it. And I think when you have the groundwork, you are able to deviate every so often, and you know, you don't have to be super strict all the time.
Yeah, exactly. It's what you do the majority of the time that's going to impact your health, not what you do now and again. And it does kind of relieve a little bit of pressure from people. And especially, I think women, we just feel like there's so much pressure on us already from society. And we put so much pressure on ourselves just to know that we don't have to be perfect all the time. It kind of lifts a bit of pressure off us.
Absolutely. So if you want to leave kind of like, what would be your top 3 tips for people's well-being that they could easily do?
They're easy to do. One of my favorite things is just eat your vegetables, eat your rainbow. Like the cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, all that kind of stuff, great for feeding your gut bacteria, especially the kind that keep you slim, that are associated with being slim. And they're also great for liver support. What they help do is they detox all the harmful estrogens and hold on to the good ones. And just make sure you're eating that. I'll be looking through people's food diaries, and they might eat 2 portions of green veg a week. So just make sure, like, try to be having them every day. Like, actually, like, you can put cauliflower in a mash. It's beautiful, roasted with some turmeric. If you're not mad about some of the vegetables, just put them into a soup. You can make kale crisps and put rocket in your salad. And like, eat colourful vegetables as well, especially things like beetroot actually is great. One thing for my female hormone clients, if you have excess estrogen in your system, it can make your bile very sticky, and what beetroot does is thins it out to keep the bile flow. And actually, bile binds to toxins, and that's how you get rid of toxins as well. So you want to make sure that's clear and efficiently. So colourful vegetables and good quality meat. We're lucky in Ireland, our lamb and our beef is very good quality, but just be mindful of things like pork, because you never really see a pig out in the field in Ireland. You'd be driving anywhere and you can see cows and sheep all the time, and they're getting a rich grass-fed diet. That's what you want. You want grass-fed beef and meat, they're going to have like much more nutritious meat. And if you think about it, they're eating so much greens, and greens detoxify us, so they're going to be very low toxin meat as well. Look for free range animals. And I suppose the third thing would be, I suppose, is just like, if you do feel like you have something that you're not happy with in your health, get support. Like I take clients all the time, or I get inquiries, and if I don't think I'm the best person for the inquiry, like I will refer them on to somebody I think is the best. So like I refer people all the time on for nutrition support for chemotherapy. Because I'm concentrating on female hormones at the moment, I've started to refer on my sports clients. I would refer on people. I get an awful lot of people contacting me about like kind of inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, but I would refer them on to specialists as well, so they get specialist support, so that like you might be, I'm not going to be trying to like hit and miss, like I think that like I can direct you if I'm not the best person, but like not just me but any nutritional therapist. We have I suppose a huge network of people that we can refer you on to, so not to be afraid to contact somebody if you're not feeling well. And it's not really okay just like lack of ill health and you just feel very grey. And with, I suppose, medicine, it's very black and white. It's either you're healthy or you're sick, but there's a huge grey area there where nutritional therapy can help you like feel much better, get you into the white area rather than feeling black. But so for example, with, I suppose, thyroid, say somebody could be just borderline and the doctor will tell you you're fine, but you could be feeling awful, because I suppose with the doctors, they have these measurements that they need to stick with, and that's kind of what prevents them being sued and things like that. And so you could be your thyroid could be almost under functioning, and they'll be like, oh, you're fine, and then actually there's loads of things you can do to help support your thyroid. And that's one of the things, if your thyroid's down a bit, you can feel very low in mood. So that's what my third one really is, just I suppose that an absence of ill health isn't good enough if you're not feeling well, and there are a lot of people out there that can help you feel better.
Brilliant. So where can people reach you if they can't get to Galway?
I do Skype consultations, and I'm online at niamhburkenutrition.com, and I have a Facebook page as well. And last night I just reached 10,000 followers, so I was really chuffed.
Oh, well done.
Because I've been building that page for a long time, and I have such lovely followers. I have a really nice tribe. It's mostly women, I think, that follow my page, but I think that like they're the people anyway that I'd be having consultations with.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I've really loved speaking with you.
Oh, thanks, Aisling. It was a pleasure. It was lovely to speak to you as well.
Thanks a million.
Bye.